Words shape your reality. And if you pick better words, you have a better reality. Every word you say is a blueprint that your mind and body work to make real. But we frame everything as such a tragedy. I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, good enough. This emptiness inside. We are taught to fill that up with food or alcohol. You can't fix an emotional pain with stuff. It was the beginning of my 30 years of working out. Okay, what is causing this and how can I help people fix it forever?
Those 3 words, I am enough. When you try to explain the thinking behind that, how do you usually begin?
We're all born knowing we're enough, and that's very good news because you can reactivate it. And all you have to do is change how you talk to yourself. Tell yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm enough. Your mind will believe whatever you tell it, and it really is that simple.
They say that the human race is doomed, that we have lost touch with our true nature, that the media has corrupted us, and that the planet has no future. I disagree. I believe that humanity is full of hope, and that our salvation lies within each one of us. My name is Brian Rose, and my job is to listen, the oldest method of learning known to man. Each week I seek out individuals that are changing the world, people who are living and thinking in a different way. Their stories will challenge your beliefs, make you question your choices, and perhaps inspire you to change. I never planned on doing any of this, but now I can't stop. Join me on this mission and make humanity something we can all be proud of.
I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Those 3 words is what my guest Marisa Peer is here to talk to you about. And those, she says, are the solution to all of your problems. Everything that you might hate about yourself, from your image to your career to your relationships, it all comes down to you feeling like you're not enough. And Marisa has a fascinating career. She went to Hollywood when she was younger and actually taught fitness with Jane Fonda. And she watched all these women around her who just didn't think they were enough. And she looked at what normal psychotherapy did, 20 years of regurgitating all the bad things that happened to you. And she said, no, we don't need that. You just need to tell yourself that you're enough. And I had a great conversation with Marisa. I really like her. She gives great hugs. And I think she's got some great points here about how we can reframe our minds. I say this every morning, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough. And once you feel that way, you should be able to live your greatness. And when it comes to greatness at London Real, we have the Academy, and that's where I get you in my hands and transform you over an 8-week process. Whether you want to start a business, a podcast, learn how to publicly speak, I can show you how with my team of coaches. We are the best in the business, and here's a bit more about what we do inside.
London Real doesn't stop when the conversation ends. You see, that's when we get started. Because everything begins with a thought, and then comes the action. The London Real Academy is our global transformation platform. Here we bring together thousands of students from over 75 countries. Whether you want to build a profitable business from your passion, or learn to speak to inspire, or broadcast yourself with your very own podcast, or accelerate your life to become a high-performance person, we have the online accountability course and personal mentoring program that will make your dream a reality. Join us, and we'll take your life to the next level, together. Our next accelerator course is starting soon.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Marisa Peer, the international best-selling author, motivational speaker, and personal development expert. You spent 3 decades treating the client list of international superstars, CEOs, royalty, and Olympic athletes. You're the best-selling author of 5 books, including You Can Be Younger, Trying to Get Pregnant, and your most recent, I Am Enough. And you've helped thousands of people with your Rapid Transformation Therapy, R.T.T, a solution-based approach that is fast and effective. Marisa, welcome to London Real.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's nice to have you here, and I have to confess up front that this morning I said I am enough. And I think I've actually been saying it in my morning affirmations for a couple years now, because I think I saw a talk you did a couple years ago. But I don't know if I'm saying it enough, and I've got more questions about this. So I want to get to that later. But I find one of the most fascinating things about your journey is that you went to California kind of early in your career.
I did,
and I think some of your career kind of came out of that, and I was wondering if you could just tell us a bit about that. I guess you're from London originally.
From Cambridge actually, but my career definitely started in LA. So I was always going to be a child psychologist. My father was quite an eminent headmaster, and it was very important for him that I went into education too. And so I did all the training and then found myself working with children whose parents are almost always divorced, hated each other. And it was really interesting because I always had 3 clients, mum, dad, child. They were never on the same page. And I was just too young to deal with that level of tension and animosity. And I just found myself almost by a fluke leaving that and going to LA and working for Jane Fonda, teaching aerobics on Robertson Boulevard, which was so much more fun than being a child psychologist. It was amazing. In the 80s, I mean, everyone used to drive to work in their little leotards, and it was such fun. I mean, she was great. She was like right at the front of a movement, a bit like I'm Enough movement. She had the aerobic movement. I have to say it was amazing every day. But so many of the people that turned up to do my classes or hers were bulimic or anorexic or had body dysmorphia or exercise compulsion. I remember looking at this with my psychologist brain thinking, wow, all these people are working out to cure a mental illness, and you can't cure a mental illness with aerobics. And so that set me back onto thinking, well, I should use the psychology background I have and mix it into this huge epidemic of anorexia, bulimia. I mean, if you live in LA and throw a stick at a bunch of women, every 3rd one would have an eating disorder.
Today as well?
Oh, probably more. Probably every other woman.
Okay. And the same back then as well?
Then it was, I mean, I remember I lived in West Hollywood, and my first roommate was bulimic, the second was anorexic. One would eat frozen grapes, the other would defrost a cheesecake and eat the whole thing while crying hysterically. And it seemed kind of normal, because when you live in that stuff, it's normal. It's like living in chaos. You just don't see it. And all the girls at Jane's workout had the same diet. It was like Diet Coke, diet yogurt, diet hot chocolate, and oatmeal. And that just seemed normal. But I remember thinking, it's not really normal, is it, to live like this, to get weighed all the time, to take your scales on holiday, to come in and go, how many calories are in cough medicine? Because, you know, I've got a cough, and I've got to go on the Stairmaster and work it off. It didn't seem that normal. So it set me on a path to look for what runs eating disorders, which I realized quickly was not enoughness. And so it was the beginning of my 30 years of working out, okay, what is causing this, and how can I help people fix it forever?
What did they make of you, a Brit, in their midst? What did they think of you?
When I used to teach, they'd always say, could you say that again? Could you say that again? And I realized it's because they liked my accent. So, yeah, I loved it there. It was great. I mean, Brits and Americans get on really well, because Americans tend to love Brits on the whole, and Brits love Americans. I think we have a great love affair.
Yeah. I
know in my house in LA, I have Union Jack flags and cushions and doormats, because I like to keep the Brit going. But then here, I sort of love the LA part. I'm always watching Ray Donovan and House of Cards. So I have a big love affair with America, and I think they do with the UK, so I like it.
Yeah, it's a weird relationship. We like to poke fun at each other, but we deeply love each other. And I always say the Americans always look to Britain. It's like the Downtown Abbey effect. I always say because the Americans we have no class.
No.
And so, so especially in California, and we have no history. So when we look to Britain, it's like, wow, what's going on here?
And they come up and say, do you have dry cleaners in the UK? Can you eat the food? Do you know my aunt who lives in Leicester? Have you met the Queen? Does everyone go to work with a bowler hat and a brolly? I'm like, no.
So you jump into this practice and start talking to some of these women and treating some of these women. And what's fascinating about you is that your approach is very different than most of the world of psychotherapy and psychology, which basically says, we're going to talk about these problems for the next 10 years. We're going to hash them out. We're going to go to all the uncomfortable places and kind of talk this stuff out. I mean, maybe I'm generalizing the industry.
No, that's true. And it's the worst thing you can do. There's something called HEBS now, H-E-B-B-S, that's now studied the detrimental effect of talking about something every week for years. It's like opening a wound over and over again till you get septicemia. You know, when you keep discussing your problem, you keep it alive, you keep reliving it, you just never get better. It's like if you went bankrupt and every week went to talk about what it felt like to be bankrupt and to lose everyone's money who invested in you, that sense of shame never goes away. I mean, you should talk about it, but then you should get over it and then you should move on. And I find many people will say like, well, you know, when I was a baby, I was a preemie and my mum had to feed me through the dropper of a pen, and if I didn't gain weight, I would have died, and that's why I'm obese. I'm like, but that was 45 years ago. I know. And I said, but do you see that by telling this story, you're justifying every day why you eat too much? Sometimes you have to just put that away now and say that was then, this is now, and stop living in the past, because it's gone.
How'd you have the confidence to trust your instincts on this? Because everyone else is telling you the opposite.
Yeah.
There's no internet back then, so it's not like a lot of these new liberal ideas being bounced around. I mean, it's hard.
I think you do have to have a level of confidence, but I think having been a therapist for 30 years, you know, I would always look at what worked. What did my clients love? What worked? And then I would take that to the next client and the next client. And I took on a lot of therapists who'd say, I mean, you know, I'm not here to knock any therapist. All therapists have a good heart and they go into that business wanting to help. But if you're trained to just discuss pain every week, I mean, no one says to their dentist, oh, hey, I've got this terrible infection. Can I come and discuss it every week? They go, you mad? The infection will spread. We've got to get it out of there. No one says to their doctor, I've broken my arm. I'd like to come in and talk about it. They go, well, then it's going to set like that. You have to get it fixed. So the whole premise that we just discuss the pain over and over again with the belief that in 10 years or less, you'll get used to living with yourself the way you are, and you may get better, but you may not, is always, I thought, bizarre. And I've met some amazing psychotherapists and some others who say, you know, the words rapid and transformational should not go together, because my method is called Rapid Transformational Therapy, and many of them say to me, well, there's no such thing as rapid therapy, it should be long. In fact, one actually told me therapy is a world of pain that you have to crawl out of every day, and you don't get better, you get used to it. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm not your patient. I mean, my clients, we offer them freedom. We go, we can make you better. You don't have to be like this. You can get over this really fast, because we have the tools and the skills to make you better or to make yourself better. And it's the only form of healthcare where they say, let's have a long, protracted discussion, but no cure. I mean, no one goes to an osteopath and says, let's just talk about the back pain. They go, no, I'm going to manipulate you and do this, and you're going to get better. So I've always thought that was a little odd. And I think now people have really sort of lost patience with 10 years of therapy. Life's so fast now, no one's got the time for that.
Those 3 words, I am enough. When you try to explain the thinking behind that, how do you usually begin with people? And how can you describe what this is?
Well, the common denominator of all of our emotional issues in the modern world are not feeling enough. And I started to see that working with Jane with all the bulimics and anorexics, and I realized that when you don't feel enough, you can't get enough. So people who binge on cakes and then throw up and then have more cakes, or maybe they're binging on popcorn and then vomiting and then having more. And I realized that it's the not enoughness you have to treat. I mean, I've worked with thousands and thousands of addicts. I've never, I say that again, I've worked with thousands and thousands of addicts. I've never met one in my entire life who said, I feel enough. But many who said, I don't feel enough. You know, I'm trying to fill this emptiness inside, just like anorexics, just like drug addicts. There's a big gap, and we are taught to fill that up with food or alcohol or movies or shopping or sex or gambling. But you can't fix an emotional pain with stuff. I mean, obviously we think we can. We shop and buy stuff to fill up this pain, but it doesn't work. You have to recognize that what lies beneath gambling, drinking, smoking, binging, self-hatred, self-sabotage, procrastination, and so many more things is this inner feeling, I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough, interesting enough, pretty enough, good enough. And when you realize that that's the root, you can remove that root because it's not real. No baby ever says, I'm not enough. Don't look at me. No baby says, I really shouldn't cry at 5 in the morning because my dad's working nights and my mum's exhausted. No baby says, my mum went to Whole Foods and bought organic broccoli. I shouldn't spit the whole lot out over this white top that she just bleached. They don't like it. They bring it up. So we're all born knowing we're enough, and that's very good news because you can reactivate it really fast if you know how.
Is this born out of our relationship with our parents?
Oh yeah, well it's, you know, our whole character's set before we're 5. And you know, little children know they're enough. You know, I used to say to my little, what do you want for Christmas? You go, a swimming pool, a horse. And I never went, who do you think you are? Look at you, you're so greedy. Who's going to get money for a horse? We can't afford a horse. I'd say to her, darling, you know, a horse is very expensive. And then she'd look at me and go, Mummy, Father Christmas doesn't buy them, the elves make them. Because they have this belief that everything's available. You know, in the womb, it's like being in Hawaii, it's 75 degrees. You have 24-hour room service. You're always connected to a person. So we come onto the planet certain, first of all our needs will be met, that everything we want is available, that we're deeply connected and we're enough. And you can get rid of that belief so fast by saying to children, but why aren't you like your sister? She could do maths. What's wrong with you? Your brother doesn't spill food all over the floor. Or maybe you'll see a mother crying a lot because she's unhappy, and a child must idealize their parents. If you work out at 3 that your dad's crazy, your mum's an alcoholic, your parents should never have got married, that threatens your very survival. And so what you do instead is think, my mum is unhappy, it's my fault. But I can be better and then she'll be happy. I'll just be nicer, better, good, smarter, kinder. I'll be a good kid.
So we're trying to fill the gaps in their personalities.
We believe it's our fault, but then of course, no matter how you try, Mum is still unhappy because it was never your fault. And now you've picked up something else. Oh, I can't fix her because I'm not enough. And now you've got a limiting belief that's become a fixed belief. And you know, if you look at Marilyn Monroe and Whitney Houston and Amy Winehouse, and you can see over and over again that belief that so many beautiful, famous people have, I'm not enough. You know, Kate Spade, that amazing designer, why would somebody that talented take their own life when they've got everything, money, fame, adulation, success? Because they haven't got the thing you need more than all of that put together, which is knowing you're enough.
I had Shep Gordon in here, who was kind of the talent agent for, you know, Mike Myers and a lot of these people, and you know, he knew a lot of stars back in the day, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. And he said, Brian, the thing that got them to the very top was some hole inside them.
Oh, yeah.
That were making them show the world they were the best. And he says it doesn't go away when they're at the top.
Never. No, you see, somebody will look out at the world and think, I don't feel enough and the world isn't fair, but if I become famous or rich or gorgeous, then the world will see I'm enough. And that gives them phenomenal drive to become famous at acting or singing or even sport. But when they get there, because they really will get there, then they think, oh, right, now you love this body, this part I'm playing, you're not really falling in love with me. And now it's actually worse, because before they had a dream, I'm not enough, but I'm going to go over there, become famous and rich, and I'll be enough. And then they go over there, and then they think, yeah, but I fooled you all. And then they still feel as enough as ever. In fact, they feel worse because the goal they were going to just didn't work, and now they feel even worse than they felt before because there's nowhere to hide.
And they don't respect the fans for loving them because they don't love themselves.
Well, and they think they're deluded. It's like that guy said, I'd never join a club that would have me as a member. So they think the fans are falling in love with a myth, and they have a huge feeling of I don't deserve this. The self-destructiveness of talent is, I didn't deserve this, so I'm going to have to get rid of it super fast. And
that's what they start doing with their subconscious.
Yeah.
I want to get into some of that self-talk.
Sure.
Let me ask you, do you think, though, that some of the great art, back to like a Janis Joplin or a Jimi Hendrix, could be created without this hole inside them? And like, sometimes I look at what I'm doing and I'm like, okay, I'm really driven. I must have some piece of I'm not enough inside me. But then I also am like, but I feel like I'm creating things that are important. And I don't know, if I felt like I was enough, maybe there would be no London Real. What do you think about that?
I think we all have we're not enough to a degree. It depends how much it's hurting you. I mean, I grew up thinking I wasn't enough for years and years and years. And it's probably why it was so important for me to identify in everyone and show them you can get better. You know, Shakespeare said, from pain comes art. And it is true that people who've had a blissful life can't write about pain, can't write about, sometimes I was listening to one of my daughter's songs, Girls Don't Like Boys, Girls Like Cars, and you think, what did that poor boy go through to write that song? When you listen to lyrics or you...
Amy Winehouse's album, right? Back to Black.
Her lyrics, so self-explanatory. I told you I was trouble, you know I'm no good. You go back to her, and I go back to black. Love is a losing game. Her lyrics would just break your heart. I remember talking to her father, he said, I can't listen to any of her songs because the pain of her not feeling she was enough is like in every song you hear.
Yeah.
Those songs were her autobiography.
And so art is created from pain. But
almost always.
Almost always. But we should still learn how to then love ourselves and agree we're enough. And maybe they both can exist.
Well, I think the thing with the pain is you're supposed to get over it. You have surgery, you're in pain, but no one says, are you still in pain 20 years later? And if you were, the surgeon's done a very bad job. So we all have degrees of pain. We get rejected, we get dumped, we get hurt, but you're supposed to get over the pain. Human beings are incredibly resilient, and we are wired to recover from pain. But we kind of hold on to it, and then we use it as, oh, I could never date again, they might dump me, and that last guy just walked all over me and broke my heart in a million pieces, when really, he just got bored, and you might have got bored with him if you'd stayed together. But we frame everything as such a tragedy. And when you frame it, I could never go through that again, it would kill me if I did that. Oh, I couldn't take the pain. And then the brain believes us. Our mind believes what we tell it always. When you say, I could never do that again, it would kill me to do that again. I'd rather die than do that again. Now our mind is very certain we must not go through that again. And it allows us to hold back and live a very limiting life because we told it something utterly untrue. You can go through anything. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. Rejection can be the best thing that ever happened to you, but no one tells you that.
Is it possible to raise children without some of these traumas, or will they find something that will affect them? I think it was like Viktor Frankl that said that a person's problems are like gas in a gas chamber. They'll fill up the room whether they're small or big. And for me, I always go back to my parents being divorced when I was 7. And when I go on my plant medicine ceremonies, it's right in my face. But when I look at it, there was no yelling and beating and bottles being thrown. But for me, it was a big event. And I'm wondering, do we just bring those things bigger when they're children?
Well, what you said was so fascinating, because events don't affect you, but the meaning you attach to the event will affect you. So your parents getting divorced, of course that affects the child, but the meaning you attach, which is, I wasn't good enough for them to stay together, they didn't love me enough, they're unhappy, I should have made them happy, I failed to make them happy, so I'm a failure, I'm not enough. So it's always the meaning you attach to an event, or the interpretation, that will get you every time. And the good news is that the generation of parents now have more manuals and more videos and more experts who do know what they're talking. Unlike Dr. Spock, who said if you pick up a child, you ruin it, you know, babies are very selfish, don't go to them when they cry, and don't understand that babies are pure sensation. Oh, that baby's manipulating you. They wouldn't know how to manipulate you if they tried. And so we do have a better generation now that understand that what a child feels is everything, and you just have to talk to them and say things like, you know, darling, Mummy was very cranky today, but that wasn't your fault, it was me. Or, you know, Daddy is living in a different house, but he loves you as much as he ever did, and he'll always love you, and he's still going to see you. And Mummy and Daddy not loving each other the way they did is not that we don't love you. You have to do a lot of explaining to children. And as long as you explain and get them to see it's not your fault, they're fine. And when they mess up, you don't go, you're a bad kid, you're so bad, you're just, I wish I'd never had you. Say, this is not really you, you're a good kid. But good kids do bad things, and today you did something that wasn't great, but that's not you. You still have to rein them in and tell them off, but you don't say you are bad, you are naughty, you are disgusting. You say you did something bad, but you're a good kid. And if you can just dialogue with your children just a little differently, they will be different kids.
Well, this is on my mind. I have boys that are 1 and 2 years old.
Yeah.
And first of all, I can agree right now, they definitely are enough. Like, they're not walking around thinking they're not enough.
No.
They're also, Marisa, they're just so happy to be here.
Yeah, they're like puppies.
They're happy to be here, and it reminds me as adults that we forgot sometimes that we're just happy to be here.
Yeah, and they love everything. They love snow, rain, spiders. You know, at that age, everything is an adventure. Puddles. They don't go, oh, look at the weather, everything's ruined. They can get so much joy from anything. But then when you have a parent that goes, oh, that's all going to go wrong, it's all going to end in tears, that will never work out, look at the traffic, this is a nightmare, this is a disaster. Those small children learn to think the way you think. They see the world through your lens. So mothers who are hypochondriacs will tend to have children who expect pain. Mothers who are pessimistic often have pessimistic children. Parents who say, don't come home without a straight A, or if you ever get pregnant, you're out of the house, now believe, well, that's not unconditional love. And of course, if you expect the worst from your kid, you normally get it.
I had a guest on recently, Dr. Gabriel Mate, who said something similar to what you said. He said the trauma that people have isn't the event, it's the processing of the event, or lack of talking about the event, or the story they tell themselves. And so two things could happen, one thing could happen to two different people, and one could be traumatized and one not. So that has to do with kind of that self-recreation of that event, and then that constant self-talk.
Yeah.
And you say that we've got two ways to control our mind: the words that we put in it and the pictures.
Pictures, yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. And even the pictures don't matter, because when you make a word, if I said to you, think of a lemon, you've already made a picture. Think of a racehorse. If you say the word, you get the picture. But the way you feel is down to just two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. And you can actually just say the words, because the words you say create a picture. But the very good news is you can change those words at any time at all. Any time you can change the words.
And most people are thinking, Marisa, that's crazy. Like, my life is a mess, and look at my...
Because of those words. Yeah, if you lived my life, or
right.
You've had such a simple life, you have no idea what it's like. But I do have an idea what it's like. And I know that the thing that's made my life so amazing, because it wasn't always like that, is the words. I would never go, this is a nightmare, oh my God, what a disaster, this is hell. And what are you talking about? They haven't got enough, you've run out of milk, or you went to the store to get your favorite bagels and they haven't got them, they go, oh, hell, it's a nightmare. You know, we use these really profound words to describe such silly little events, and it's really important not to do that.
And that's really toxic to put those words into our brain.
So toxic.
And you've also said the brain, it doesn't have a sense of humor.
No.
And it actually just believes everything that you tell it as far as the words.
Everything. Your mind really does not care if what you tell it is good or bad, healthy or unhealthy, true or false. It will let it all in. I mean, if you took your little baby and said every day you've got the worst memory in the world and you're the stupidest kid I've ever met, you can guarantee they will start to react to what you tell them. You know, my little girl used to go to school, and like all children, she'd get to the gate and she'd come back, and the lunch, the swimming, and I'd always say, what have you remembered? And she said, I've remembered my swimming kit, I've remembered my sports kit, I've remembered my lunch. Because I never said, what have you forgotten? Because that would wire her to think, oh God, I've forgotten again. She actually stopped coming back at the gate because I kept saying, what did you remember? See how clever your mind is. You always remember what you need. Because I would put stuff I needed at the front door, but she didn't want to do that. And then she stopped forgetting because I kept telling her, what have you remembered? And there's so many simple little techniques you can use with children to make them smarter, happier, more confident. You know, if every child sat around the breakfast table and had parents that said, repeat after me, I'm enough, I matter, I'm significant, I have a gift, and I'm here for a reason, bullying would practically not exist, but we don't do that. And it's such an easy thing to have your kids go, I'm enough, I matter, I'm significant, I'm lovable.
That phrase, I am enough, you've had a lot of success with celebrities and CEOs, and I've heard some of the stories you tell that just engineering that phrase into their mind does it. How does that work? And how can you get these people with these kind of negative thought loops that they've had for 10, 20 years to just start transforming?
Well, you see, when you question a belief, you no longer believe it. The minute you question a belief, you know, you'll find with your children when they start to go, but Daddy, how come Father Christmas had a suit on under his outfit, or he had black beard under the white beard, or how can he get around the world? How can someone that big get down a chimney that big? And how do the reindeer get down? When you question a belief, you don't believe it, which is why all religions go, never question the imam or the priest or the rabbi. I remember years ago my lawyer saying he asked his imam if he could watch, is it Fatal Attraction? He went, absolutely not. No, you can't watch that. And he didn't go because he told him he couldn't go. So when you question a belief, you don't believe it anymore. And the thing with I'm enough is it makes you stop questioning yourself. You go, yeah, I've got cellulite, I'm still enough. I'm driving around in an old car, I'm still enough. I've got some wrinkles, I'm still enough. And I'm enough. It's a bit like if you put moisture on very dry skin. Your skin doesn't go, is that fair trade? Is it organic? It lets it in and it nourishes you. And I'm enough will also go in and nourish you from the inside out, because your mind will believe whatever you tell it. Anything you tell it, it believes. So you might as well tell it amazing stuff, because it doesn't stop to go, is that true? You know, if you walk down the road and late at night go, that person's going to attack me and kill me, you'll start to feel as if they really are. If you sit on a plane and go, that person looks like a member of ISIS, I think they're going to blow up the plane. Even if you play a game with yourself, you start to feel as if they really are going to do that, even though it's not true. And, you know, I have many clients who come in. I've had several who've had cancer, so I cannot go in that MRI scanner. When it goes in, I feel like I'm in my coffin going in to be cremated. And because they put those words in there, I've got cancer, I'm having a scan, and now I feel like I'm in the coffin being cremated, of course they have a bad time. And so I always say to them, look, when you go in the scanner, you have to say, this is so great, I'm so chilled, how much do I want an hour to myself? I'm going to lie here and have an hour to myself. And then I had an experience of that, having to go into the same MRI. And I was just playing a game going, I'm so chilled, this is amazing. And I thought, oh, I'm in my coffin. And when I said I'm in my coffin, my whole body had a totally different reaction. And I knew I was lying to myself, but you can play games, drive on the freeway going, I'm going to get hit in a minute, I'm going to die, I'm going to skid off the road. And your mind doesn't say, now stop this, that's all nonsense. It starts to make you feel as if that's really going to happen. And you always have a choice when you're going into negative expressions. Talk yourself out of it, rather than rationalize why you feel so. Like you can lie in bed at night and go, oh my God, someone's rattling the door, they're going to break in, they're going to kill me, I'm on my own in the house here. And then you can go, it's the wind. You get a choice, but if you don't choose to change the words, then you're going to have a very bad reaction, because your words form your reality. Words shape your reality. And if you pick better words, you have a better reality, and that is an absolute fact. Change your words, and they change your reality. And it's so easy. It's easy, it's free, it's fast.
So for anyone listening, they should be proactive in the stories they're telling themselves and try to catch themselves with the negative stories. Is that hard for some people?
I think when they start it, they realize it's very interesting. You know, or one of my clients who was a very famous model, I noticed that her word was always terrifying. I got this job, terrifying. I went on a plane and these 4 guys hit on me, terrifying. And I'm like, actually, let's look at how terrifying it really is to be hit on a plane because you're gorgeous. I mean, you can stick on a baseball hat, wash off your makeup, sit at the back with a book, and they might leave you alone. But even if they don't, where's the terror in that? So people use these really incredibly descriptive words. Is hell. Going to the store is hell. Driving on the freeway is hell. Actually, not having a car and having to put gas in it is hell. It's annoying to be on the freeway. It takes a lot of time. It's frustrating. But we all want time. And you have to stop using these words. This is a disaster. And so I think when people begin to think, oh yeah, I asked my friends and they said the word you use all the time is nightmare. This is a nightmare, this is a nightmare, this is killing me. You know, I had an American PA and she'd go, I'm killing it. Or she goes, oh, this guy asked me out, I nearly died. Or when I got the job, I wanted to die. And I'm like, I didn't really want to die though, did you, darling? I mean, you didn't really think I got that job, I want to die. This guy's asked me, I want to die. Don't keep saying, I want to die, or, oh, I could have killed myself when I messed up that speech. I could have just died of shame, or I just wanted to kill myself when I did something so stupid, because it's not true. So you got to tell your mind, I messed up. Nobody even noticed, and if they did, they don't care. You don't really want to die when a great guy asks you out, and if a great guy dumps you, you also don't want to die. You want to get over it and find someone even better. So I think people don't find it hard, they find it immensely easy, because they go, really? If changing my words will change my life? Oh yes. So most of them find it quite exciting, because they're prepared to take medication, to go to therapy, to go and do sit-ups, to do anything to change their reality, when all you have to do is change how you talk to yourself. And it's a lot easier than all the other stuff.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And these people can also manifest ailments by this as well. They can literally cause themselves to die, or cause themselves to be taken out of these situations that are hell, right?
I mean, so many of all the autoimmune illnesses that we see going on now. I mean, most doctors say we have no idea what causes that, or even how to treat it, because it's not disease. And 70% of people going to ER or A&E, whatever you want to call it, whichever country you're in, will have illnesses that doctors know immediately are not caused by disease, they're caused by thinking, but they just don't know how to treat that, because they don't have the time or the training to go, look, let's do a little funny thing, let's ask for this illness what its role is, what its purpose is, what is its function, why is it here? You know, I worked with someone who was morbidly obese, and I asked her in hypnosis to tell me what the job was, and she said, oh, when I was 5 or 4, I was in the park and my dad took me to the bathroom and left my sister in the park, and she drowned in the lake, and he always said that was your fault. If you hadn't been so selfish, if you hadn't asked to go to the toilet, when in fact he should have taken both of them. You don't leave a 5-year-old kid in a park with or without an ornamental lake, because they're at risk. And she said, my whole life I had to punish myself. I killed my sister. Then I felt I had to be my sister, so I became the size of 2 people. And it was so interesting. When I asked her why she was obese, she said, I need to be the size of 2 people.
Wow.
And the minute she got that, she's lost 80 kilos since we did that session. And she came on and was talking about it at one of my master classes, how she said, I've tried everything, diet pills, stomach stapling, exercising, juicing, but what worked was understanding that obesity had a role, and then it doesn't.
What's it like to treat the kind of ultra famous and the ultra rich? Do you have to treat them kind of differently? Because they're kind of in, I mean, a special bubble, a bubble within a bubble sometimes.
You know, it is weird because I still think, you know, who am I? I go to see, I mean, last year this massively famous celebrity sent his driver to get me, and I went out to his estate, and he was standing in the garden waiting to greet me, going, I'm so honored that you're here. I'm like, really, me? You're honored that I'm here? But of course, when you talk to actors, you'll see that they have exactly the same fears. I'm not enough. I faked all that. I mean, I've got Oscars and BAFTAs and Brit Awards, and they'll say this, I don't know how I got that. I think there were not many good people that year. There weren't so many good submissions. That was a fluke. And they find it very hard to say, I have a great talent. I earned that, I'm worth it, or they say it, but they don't believe it for a minute. And it can be a little daunting to see these mega stars, but when you talk to them, they're just like everyone else. They have the same fears, often more fears. They always have this fear that, I don't know where this talent came from, and it could be taken away. There's a wonderful story about Laurence Olivier playing Hamlet, and apparently it was so amazing. He got 11 standing ovations, and the curtain finally came down. Journalists ran to the room and banged on it, and he said, go away. Don't write that. I don't know where that came from. If you write about how good it was and people come back tomorrow and I can't pull it off, I will feel terrible. So a therapist said to him, come on, Laurence, it came from you. You have that gift. It's you, and you can produce it every night just by stepping on stage going, wow, this is my gift. Someone else can sing or perform or paint. I happen to act. But he had that belief that I don't know where it came from, so he was always scared he wouldn't be enough. And there's that, again, not enoughness. I don't know where this came from. I wrote one book, but don't know if I can write another, or that was just lucky fluke. It was a lucky break. When you should really own your talent. Go, yeah, I'm really good at this. That's my gift. It's what I do. You only have to be good at one thing. But so many actors and so many creatives feel that it's some weird talent that comes through them, and it can be switched off but not on again. Whereas I think, well, if you can switch it off, you can switch it on, and you can keep it on.
So those of us with talent out there, you have to have a good relationship with your talent.
But you have to say that this is my talent. You know, very gifted people will say, I happen to be the best doctor or the best teacher, or my gift is to do that. You know, I understand my gift is to help people. I understand my gift is to really break down therapy and make it simple, but that's my gift. I don't have other gifts. I'm not an amazing cook. I'm not a phenomenal decorator. I'm not an incredible gardener. There's lots of things I'm not good at. But when you have a gift, you should own it and don't try to be good at anything else. Just be good at what you're good at. You know, I see so many children who come in and go, I'm not any good at math, or I can't be good at science. I go, darling, imagine if everyone was good at the same thing. If we all were good at everything, that wouldn't be fair. We'd never employ cooks or gardeners. Your gift is to be good at IT or computers. You don't have to be good at anything else. Just be good at that one thing. Because teachers, I remember my little girl's teacher saying she's so good at English but not maths. And she's never going to get into the school of her choice because she is a gifted English person, but terrible at math. I'm like, well, she doesn't need math. And I'd always say to her, darling, don't listen to those teachers. It's so unimportant. You're not supposed to be good at both. And she's very talented and very creative, but I see so many schools cause so much damage by trying to make kids good at everything. Or parents saying, well, if you could get an A in science, why couldn't you get an A in creative writing. Well, you know, we have different brains. A scientific brain is not the same as a creative brain. So we would make the world a better place if we could own our gift, be really proud, let other people be gifted at their gifts and just own what we're good at and have the belief that we're good, the talent and the drive and the ambition to go after it. But that fear of, oh, I'll seem big-headed, people won't like me, or it's not enough to be good, I've got to be good at everything, comes from school, and it's not true.